Okay, so we have our picture traced onto our acrylic pour, and so now we are ready to start painting. So I just want to go over some things that you're going to need whenever you paint. So you're going to need your palette. In my palette, I already have some colors. I have some black and white are going to be essential. You may want to add a color to it, depending. Now, I mixed this color with black to see what it would look like, and I really don't like that color to be added to my painting. So I really think that I'm going to stick with black and white to my painting. Another thing that you're going to add to your palette is some matte fluid medium, and this is going to be your glazing medium. So this is by Liquitex, but there's other brands. So I actually have some of that already in my palette, and it's a lot runnier than the paint, you're going to notice. You're also going to need some brushes, different sizes, different types. So I have some round brushes and some flat brushes. I like flat brushes for like blending out color and stuff like that, and kind of making things kind of like fade out. So make sure you have some flat brushes, and then round brushes are really good for details. And then you're also going to need your pictures. So I have this picture, but I also have this picture that kind of illustrates kind of like a value map, where my darks are and where my lights are. And I'll be referring to both of those as I start painting. And then also paper towel is very beneficial. My paper towel is already seasoned a little bit with my chalk. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to decide where to start, and one thing is to remember not to start with something that's the most complicated part. So for instance, I wouldn't start with an eye or a nose, because those are kind of more complicated areas. So try to look at your picture and see an area that you maybe feel more confident in, that you can easily start on without it being a struggle automatically. So I think what I'm going to do is really kind of focus in on the neck. There's some nice highlights or some nice shadows, and it seems like a pretty simple part that I could start on to kind of get a feel for what I'm going to do. So that's what I'm going to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and start with just pure black. It's not mixed with the glazing medium yet. And I'm just going to start placing the black in the shadow area. Now, one thing to remember is acrylic does dry fairly fast. You really only have like a minute to start blending that out. So once I put this black on there, I'm going to need to start blending it out, and maybe adding some of that glazing medium pretty quickly to get it to blend before it dries. Now, so I want to actually blend it out into what's already there on my canvas. So there I have a mixture that's with black, and I'm going to mix it a little bit with the glazing medium, so I have a very transparent black, and I'm going to use that to help transition my black into the acrylic pour background. So I'm going to have varying amounts of the acrylic or the glazing medium added to my black, so I can kind of blend it out. It's also beneficial too if you feel like you have a brush that's kind of overloaded, maybe clean and dry the brush, and just use a clean dry brush to kind of spread that out and blend that out. Anytime that you feel like, the paint or the glazing medium is kind of taking over, try clearing your brush of it, cleaning the brush, and seeing if that'll help the situation better. So I'm going to continue adding more layers of the transparent black that has a lot of that glazing medium, and trying to get it to like blend out, going from dark to light, or dark to nothing, I guess you should say, dark to background. And it takes a while. It takes a little bit getting used to working with like transparent layers. It's just not something that I'm really familiar with. It's not something that I do a lot of. So it takes a little bit of practice working with that glazing medium. building up some of the dark layers and kind of gradually fading them out. And I kind of want to get this right before I start moving on to the next thing. So I'm just going to try to perfect this the best I can. So now I'm going to look at on the other side of my neck where I have this highlight, and so I can start working on the highlight. Now you can do it where if you don't feel comfortable working on highlights yet, you can move to another area of the portrait itself and keep continuing adding the black, and then do all the black first and then come back and do all the white. But I'm going to just because I'm kind of getting more comfortable with this process, I'm going to work on the neck and adding some highlights. So right now I'm adding just some pure white, and now I'm going to mix some white with that glazing medium to make more of a transparent white, so I can start blending that white out into the background. So very similar process of what I just did with the black. Now I'm just switching it up and using white. Again, use varying levels of that glazing medium to get more transparent whites to help you blend it out. And then don't forget about that clean dry brush method. If you feel like it's kind of just controlling you, maybe take a clean dry brush to get it to smoothly transition. Alright, so that part looks a little bit silly now that it's like the only part that's done, but I'm going to continue on adding and moving on to the other parts of my portrait, and you're going to start to notice that the face is going to kind of almost come out of this acrylic pour.